All right, here we go. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Prayerful Pause. This month, we've been celebrating the season of creation. The theme for this year's season of creation is to hope and act with creation, with all of creation in mutual relationship, not for or on behalf of creation. Today, I'd like to invite us to consider our relationship with place as a way of remembering our connection with creation. We all have a place where we've been, where we've felt a deep connection with the divine. Maybe it's in nature, a particular field or a mountain or body of water. Maybe it was a special gathering of people, a night out with friends or a family gathering around the kitchen table. Maybe it's in our garden or in our favorite chair in our prayer space. I spoke about having one such place, but I imagine that many of us have many such places in our lives. Places that we return to, both physically and in our minds. And each time we do, we remember who we are and our place in this world. I believe that all of these places have a few things in common. One is that we all physically went there at least once. Maybe we travel there now only by memory, but at least we were there once in our bodies. It was a whole body experience that engaged all of our senses. We remember what we heard and saw and smelled and touched, and maybe even what we tasted, and certainly what we felt. When I think about my places, my divine places, I like to think of the experience as an encounter with fellow divine beings. The earth, the creatures, the wind and the sky, the people, all divine beings who help me remember my own divinity and my connection to all. Someone once shared with me that it's like each of us has a tuning fork inside us. And when we open ourselves up and surround ourselves with other divine beings who have their own tuning forks and are also opened up, our tuning forks start to resonate together. The vibration of one is shared with all the others. I believe that being in nature is so spiritually moving for many of us because nature is full of divine beings who are open to us and with whom we can resonate. I'd like to share with you about a place that I added to my collection of divine memory places this summer. It's Inishmore. I was part of the group from the Well that made a Celtic Christianity pilgrimage to the island of Inishmore off the west coast of Ireland. Inishmore is the cradle of Celtic Christianity, which is a combination of pre-empire Christianity and its focus on love, universal love, and the nature-focused spirituality of the Celts. In the 300s and 400s AD, Irish monks started to populate the island because they were looking for a place where they could dedicate their lives to God. From the perspective of the monks, Inishmore literally was at the edge of the world at that time, as it was the western edge of Europe. They formed monasteries that flourished and helped to support the development of Celtic Christianity in Ireland and elsewhere. Our group spent a week traveling to the sites of the early monasteries, as well as to structures built by the people who were there before the Celts, learning the history and deepening into the spirituality and beautiful nature of the island. And I have a few photos that I'd like to share with you. So hopefully you can see that. just a map to sort of situate you first. So this is down in the right-hand corner here. This is all of Ireland. So you can see where Inishmore is in this red box, and it's right off the west coast of Galway. There's actually three Aran Islands. Inishmore is one of them. It's the biggest one, and that's where we went. I think the harbor was right in here. And so this is the view toward the east, toward the mainland of Ireland. It's grassy, rolling hills. The monks actually rode their way out to the island from the mainland of Ireland. Lots of rock walls. You'll see rock walls in a lot of these photos. Um, a lot of rocks on Inishmore, and all these were made by hand, primarily because they had to have a place to put their rocks after they dug them out of the ground in order to make the land usable, and also to help keep uh, the sheep where they wanted them to graze. As we started to walk to the west, it got increasingly rockier and hillier as we got higher and higher. Um, we had to help each other often across the rock walls because it was a little treacherous to walk on, very uneven, and had to really be careful where you were walking. Finally, we reached the western edge of the island and found ourselves on these steep cliffs going down several hundred feet to the Atlantic Ocean. The photo on the left was looking north, and the photo on the south, you can see it. I don't know whether you can see it with all the, um, whoops. Oh, uh, that's the view to the south. Just beautiful cliffs, and you know, we were looking out toward uh, North America, really, as we looked out. At the top, can't really see it in any of these photos, but there were Neolithic forts that were built right on the cliffs 4,000 years ago. I just love looking out in the ocean and feeling divine presence. We spent a lot of time visiting Celtic Christian ruins. Most of these were churches and structures built maybe in the 800s or 900s on top of the original monasteries, which were built in the 400s and 500s. The one on the left is actually half buried now. It was built near the coast, and the sand dunes had built up around it and basically almost buried the whole thing. So we actually had to climb down to get into it. And each day we would go and we would have a teaching. The leader of the pilgrimage was a guy named Kirk Webb, who was very knowledgeable about this area, and then we would have a chance to sit and just be in the place, which was really nice. Of course, we saw a lot of sheep and many donkeys and horses and a lot of birds. Um, that also gives you a sense of these walls. Each of these, there's like thousands of miles of these walls on this island. It's only 8 miles long and 1.5 miles wide, all built by hand. And then on the right, this was one of the wildflowers. There were so many beautiful wildflowers on the island. I love this one. You can see the leaves coming out around the stem. I just had never seen that before. I don't even know how that was created. And then the people, people who lived there in the past. We spent time in a couple cemeteries. You see all those Celtic crosses. I really felt the presence of these people who lived there in the past. I loved reading the inscriptions on the tombstones and on the other items that people had left um, around the um, around the cemetery, around the graves. Um, and then there's our group. Uh, Hopefully you can see us. Maybe you can minimize the photos if they're on the right of your screen. But we had a great time together, and many of us reflected on how our friendships really helped to build the experience and make it so memorable. I see a few people who were there. Um, and so I loved the entire pilgrimage, but I'd say that there were really like three primary aspects that turned Inishmore into a memorable place for me. Um, the first was looking out over the ocean. I always loved the ocean, and as I looked out, as we were looking toward North America, and I could envision the beaches of Long Island, where I went, where I grew up and used to go to, and I just felt connected both to my past and to the divine. The second was the time we spent in the cemeteries. I just could feel the spirits of the people who had lived there in the past, and just so much love, like familial love expressed there, and just could imagine the lives of the people who had lived there and had found God there over the generations. And then the last thing was our group. You know, we sort of knew, some of us knew each other, but by the end we had become good friends. And you know, I really loved how we took care of each other. Climbing up those hills on those rocks and uneven ground and climbing over walls. We often had to rely on each other, help each other up and down um, on those hills. And I just really loved the way we took care of each other. And I'm sure that you all have places like this in your lives, places that warm your heart and make your divine tuning fork vibrate with recognition of the holy. And so I'd like to invite us now to maybe travel to our places together in a prayer and meditation. So let us pray. Give yourself a couple of deep breaths. Drop down to the place inside of you where the Holy lives, the Holy One resides. Feel your feet on the floor. Wiggle your toes a little bit. Wake your feet up. And imagine roots going down from the bottom of your feet deep into the earth that we all share. Feel yourself anchored, held by Mother Earth. And as you breathe in, draw up some of the Christic energy, earth energy of the divine up into your body, up into your legs, up up into your heart. And now I'd invite you to move your attention to the top of your head. And open up to the divine energy of the cosmos, the stars, transcendent divine. And let that light energy flow into your body. And now let's open ourselves to the group. Feel each other's loving presence. And think of a place, a special place for you, a special time where you knew that you were connected with God. Go back there. Remember how it felt, what you saw, what you heard. The divine beings who were there with you. Now I'd invite you to put your divine place in our circle and offer it up to the group. See if you can sense the divine places being offered up by others. And just rest in all those divine places. We're making a divine place right now. When it feels right and at your own pace, you can come on back to our Zoom.